I'm going to talk a little bit today about apologies and I'm sorry. And there's two aspects or two ways to look at this. I've done other videos where I talk about forgiveness, and that's from a different perspective. So today it's more about the apology. More specifically, the experience of thinking that someone owes me an apology. That's one way of looking, and we'll explore that. Another way is the automatic apologies that we experience so often, without thought, without planning, without any sense of meaning attached to it. So, for an example, I might be in a grocery store and bump someone's cart or something, and I'll say I'm sorry. Or you almost walk into someone or you cut someone off while you're walking at an event or whatever it may be, and again there's another I'm sorry. Or maybe you say something or you cut someone off in the middle of a conversation, and out comes an I'm sorry. These are well, I'm not even going to say what they are. Instead, I'm going to raise the question to you: what are these like for you? What's the experience you have when you automatically spit out an I'm sorry? I remember watching a movie and they referred to this type of behavior as automatic niceties. And then the actor said shortly after that, they don't mean anything. Now, I don't know if they do or if they don't. That's your experience, and that's for you to explore. So how do we find out? How do we know? Because our first response is going to be, well, yes, it means something. It means I'm sorry for interrupting you or for stepping in front of you or whatever it might be. But it's possible and it's likely that there's a lot more behind that. I've noticed that in my experiences with these automatic responses, automatic politeness, that often what's behind it is my sense of unworthiness. And that may sound extreme on the surface, but when we start to look, we find that there's a sense of truth to that. And again, I can say especially from my experience. And what I mean by unworthy is it's like this unconscious hidden desire that for whatever reason I want this person, this stranger, a person I don't even know, to like me. And that translates into I'm fearful that they're going to judge me negatively, or I don't want them to judge me negatively. So I spit out what's normally accepted as the automatic response, the automatic I'm sorry, in hopes that whatever I did won't be judged, won't be evaluated, and I can go on feeling as if the person doesn't not like me. So the challenge is, if you're interested, the challenge is to start to notice how you experience yourself in this process. If you just bring awareness to it. And I always talk about bringing awareness to it because it's so powerful. And this is another thing we can bring awareness to. Bring awareness to it. Just, if you can, not catch, but notice yourself. Notice yourself when something like this happens. Notice when you automatically spit out an I'm sorry without any thought process before it. Don't stop yourself, don't resist it, let it happen, because that's who you are in that moment. But afterwards, we can pause and we can reflect on it and check in and say, what was happening with me? What was going on behind the scenes when I bumped into that person's shopping cart and I automatically spit out an I'm sorry? Or even an excuse me. Excuse me can be a little bit more polite, but the I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. There's people walking in the park, it's a beautiful day. But the I'm sorry has a little bit more behind it than excuse me. Or if you don't want to look at specific cases or specific instances of it, just start to bring awareness to how often you do it, how often it happens in your day-to-day experiences with people. Just that awareness is going to gifts. It's going to bring clarity. It's going to help you to see and know who you are better. The challenge will be, if you notice that you're doing this often, the challenge will be not to judge yourself. Once you start to bring awareness and you see how often it's happening in your life, your first response may be, oh my gosh, I'm doing this all the time, or wow, I don't want to do this all the time. You may start to recognize that it doesn't have any meaning for you. All of these are wonderful gifts. Again, it brings awareness. It helps us to better know who we are. It increases our level of honesty and self-honesty. And if it's something that you discover you would like to shift or maybe do less often, again, my advice would be don't force that. Don't try to make a change. The awareness alone will allow the shift to naturally happen. And if you find yourself doing it less, you find yourself doing it less. If you find no change, that's fine as well. It's more a matter of looking and bringing awareness and heightening our sense of presence in the moment and who we are in the moment and what's happening behind what we're doing in that moment.